everybody, this is Jacob Bartley from Apocalypse Movies, and this is our very first classic review, something that I'm making a point for us to start doing, where we can review older classic films that maybe we've seen before but we wanted to revisit and review critically, or films that we have not seen before. In the case of this very first movie, I have never seen it prior to watching it last week, and I'm proud to say that I finally watched The Godfather. Yes, arguably, collectively viewed as the best movie of all time. I've never seen it before last week, and I'm here to review The Godfather for our very first classic movie review. Now, if you've been following our YouTube channel, you know that we've put out like modern movie reviews, quite a few of those. We talk about movie news, the weekly movie news podcast. We talk about Star Wars. We talk about a lot of geeky stuff. We talk about a lot of superhero stuff. But ultimately, we're film fans overall, so we want to learn this stuff and build our film knowledge. So this kind of forces us to watch these movies while also giving us more content for our YouTube channel. So we're kind of killing several birds with one stone. Not that I condone animal violence or anything. But man, so yes, Jacob Bartley here, Apocalypse Movies, and I am going to review Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather, and boy. So, before I get into it, let me give some context of my viewing experience and what my thoughts were going into watching the movie. So, you hear about these classics movies. I'm sure other film fans or just general movie fans have had the same experience where you hear people talk about these classics like Lawrence of Arabia or Shawshank Redemption. These movies where they talk about them like they're otherworldly, like they're godly. They're movies that are just pure genius and brilliance. And you're like, calm down. There's no way that these movies could really be that good. Now, I kind of had that same feeling with The Godfather. Now, I like mob movies. I'm not a huge mob movie fan, but I do like them. I wouldn't say that mob movies are my favorite genre, but I did grow up watching movies like Goodfellas and Casino and Carlito's Way. Don't ask me why. My parents just did not care. They let me watch these movies, and I'm glad they did, because growing up I was able to say that I watched these films. But one movie that I never got to watching is The Godfather, and I always planned to, especially when I started getting into movie reviewing and movie punditry a few years ago. I was like, I have to watch The Godfather. Whether I'm going to enjoy it or not, I have to watch it. And so I kind of went in very much looking forward to it, but having my doubts as to whether it is really the classic film, arguably the best film of all time, that people have kind of made it out to be. And I gotta say, it lives up to the hype. It truly, really does. The Godfather is an absolute masterpiece, and I don't know if hearing what other people have thought about it up to me watching it has affected my opinion. I try to leave all that at the door, per se, before I go and watch a movie. But I'm sure there's a little bit of that going on, but just an unbiased opinion, just watching the movie and judging it as a film, it is absolutely brilliant. And the mob aspect is just kind of the surface. There's so many themes and character things going on in this movie that really are true brilliance, whether it's a mob movie or not. That's kind of what I was expecting from The Godfather, for it to depend on the mob element and the death and the violence and the gore and the drinking and the cigar smoking. Like, I feel like some mob movies just paint that picture and it just looks appealing to viewers, so naturally people love those movies that are into that stuff. But for me, I was expecting the movie to survive off that, but no, it thrives off so much more. It's brilliant, it's written brilliantly, it's acted brilliantly, it's directed brilliantly. Something that really surprised me is the score of the film. It's absolutely amazing. So let me get into some specifics about positives that I like. Now, because this is a classic review, the movie is damn near 50 years old, I'm going to talk spoilers. So if you have not seen The Godfather, too bad. Get to watching it. Pause this right now and go watch it. But from now, at this point on, I'm going to be talking some spoilers about The Godfather. Now, first and foremost, I gotta start off with the performance of Marlon Brando. Now, a lot of film critics and pundits and film historians consider Marlon Brando one of, if not the best actor of all time. And, well, I'm pretty young, so I haven't watched a lot of his films, but watching his performance as Don Vito Corleone in The Godfather, as the Godfather, I cannot argue against that statement. He is absolutely brilliant. One of the best performances I've ever seen, and I'm not using hyperbole, I'm not exaggerating. It is one of the best performances I've ever seen, and it's funny because, well, the movie's really long, so the first hour of the film, he shines. And if you've seen the movie, you know he gets shot about an hour into the film, and he kind of, the second hour of the film, he's not really in it that much. Al Pacino really steps in, and he arguably is the second lead of this film. Like, I'm surprised they both weren't nominated for Best Lead Actor back in 1973, I believe. So Al Pacino kind of takes over the film in the second act, and then Marlon Brando heals and comes back, and he kind of finishes the movie very strong along with Al Pacino. They kind of share the last third of the movie. So the movie really, it doesn't depend on the performances of Marlon Brando and Al Pacino, but it's arguably the best element of the film is those two performances, and there's other great performances too. James Caan as the brother Sonny Corleone, and man, talk about tragic moments. I was freaking out when Sonny got whacked. I don't ever say whacked, but because I'm talking about a mob movie, of course I say whacked. But when Sonny gets killed, I was free. I jumped out of the couch and I was free. Like, what? No, that can't happen. And it's weird. And so that leads to when Al Pacino's character, Michael Corleone, takes over the film in a way, when his brother passes away and his father is injured, because he has to kind of step up and be the head of the family. And that's when Al Pacino really steps into his own. He is incredible in this movie. I want to go back and watch all of young Al Pacino's performances, because I watched his later movies, like his late 90s films and early 2000s films. I haven't seen a lot of his earlier, probably some of his best work. So Al Pacino is absolutely amazing in this film, and one of my favorite things about this movie is his character arc. So the movie starts, they're at his sister's wedding, and he's talking to his girlfriend, and he's talking about his family and how that's not him. He's not like that. And the way he portrays the character and the character's personality, you can tell he's not involved in the mob world as much as the family is. And it really goes to show that when you're a part of something like that, no matter what the capacity, you're going to get dragged in no matter what, unless you completely get out. So certain events happen and lead to him having to basically become the Don Corleone. He was the furthest thing from his father when the movie starts, and he's trying to fight becoming his father throughout the movie, but by the time the movie ends, he becomes his father. And that last shot of the movie, when they close the door on his wife, it kind of it shows that he has become his father, the thing that he was avoiding to do since the beginning of the film. And that's character development at its best. Like, I was like, wow, this is brilliant. It was one of my favorite aspects of the movie. One of the most beautiful scenes in the film is because even though Vito Corleone is this big mob boss, or this big head of this gangster family, and he has honor and he has respect, and he's a good man. He's trying to do the right thing to protect his family. And so you kind of, even though he does bad things, you kind of sympathize with him in a way. And so when it gets near the end of the film, when he's playing with his grandson, I think it's in the garden, and he goes out so beautifully, because he's just running around playing with his grandson, and he's lived this stressful life of being the head of this gangster family, involved in a lot of horrific stuff. And when he goes out peacefully, like having fun playing with his grandson. And I honestly really got a little choked up in that scene, because I was like, wow, look at all this character has been through, and he could have easily been killed by a gunshot wound or getting stabbed or something, but the way he goes out is smiling, laughing, having fun, playing with his grandson, and that was like truly a beautiful scene. Like I mean, it's pretty early, but that like might be my favorite death scene in any movie ever because of just how beautiful the scene is and what it means. And this guy kind of gets a happy ending in a way because he's just he talks about family and how much he cares about family, and he gets to go out his last moments with his grandson, and it's absolutely like a beautiful moment in film history, I would say. And even though I said the mob elements aren't the thing I was looking for or that I necessarily enjoyed the most, I really did enjoy the mob elements. Like, when I'm watching a mob movie, I'm like scared because I'm like, I could not survive in that world. Like, if I was in that setting, I would freak the heck out. And I do that all the time when I watch like Goodfellas or Casino or anything like that. It's kind of like a horror movie to me. Like, because I indulge myself in the movies. Like, I put myself in those scenarios. Like, what if I was in this scenario? And mob movies are some of the scariest ones to watch because you're not safe at any given moment. You can be taken out for business reasons or selfish reasons or money or because you crossed somebody or somebody thinks you crossed them. Like, the mob elements are actually really good too. Now, usually when I review a film, I give some negatives. I don't want to be like, oh man, I'm trying to be fair with this film. So I don't want to be unfair, and just because it's The Godfather, just because it's a brilliant film, give it a 100% positive score. But it's really hard to think of some negatives. If I had to think of some, and this is nitpicking, maybe it's too long. Like, I enjoy every minute of it, but 3 hours is a long time to sit through. I mean, I don't know what I would take out, but if I had to choose a negative, that it's too long. And also, it kind of feels like 2 or 3 different movies, which I don't mind. It's almost like, like I said, the first hour is all about Don Vito Corleone. You get to know him. Second hour is after he gets shot, and it's about Sonny, and then the death of Sonny and how Al Pacino's Michael Corleone kind of starts to take over. And then the third act is Vito coming back and his relationship with Michael, and Michael finally taking over as the leader of the family. So it's kind of spread out. It's kind of like watching, 3 different 1-hour movies, and I guess it could have been more cohesive, but at the same time, I don't mind. I love the way it's structured. So those are very small nitpicks, but overall, as you can tell, The Godfather is a brilliant film. Like, I can't deny it. It really is. And I give movies scores, and I'm going to kind of try to change my scoring system pretty soon, because numbers are so, like, you kind of just choose a number, like, what does that number mean? So I'm going to, eventually change my scores to, words like excellent, or great, or masterpiece, good, bad, shit, but I haven't structured that scoring system yet, so I'm going to give The Godfather a 10 out of 10. I have only given 2 movies in my whole entire life a 10 out of 10, and those are The Usual Suspects and Toy Story 3. You can add The Godfather to that list of getting a 10 out of 10. It deserves the praise that it gets. It is a classic film. It is arguably one of the best movies I've ever seen, and it deserves all the accolades and everything that it gets credit. It deserves the credit. That's all I can say. It is absolutely brilliant. So if you have not seen The Godfather, I just spoiled a whole bunch of stuff for you, but go watch The Godfather if you've not seen it. If you haven't watched it in a long time, go revisit it, because it truly is filmmaking at its best. And you can check out for my Godfather 2 review. Jojo Ramos might hop on that with me, but I think our next classic review is going to be One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is one of my favorite films of all time. Gio had just watched it recently for the very first time, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, so look forward to our classic reviews. Thank you all for listening. I am Jacob Bartley. You can find me on this YouTube channel, Apocalypse Movies. Subscribe and hit that like button. You can find me on Twitter at @JacobBartley_, and also hit us up in the comment section. Let us know your thoughts on The Godfather. If you haven't seen it, let us know if you're looking forward to watching it, if I made you want to watch it. So yeah, thanks again for listening. Until next time, take care.